Hey Jim, I'm subbing in for Selena.
Oh, no worries. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. I think maybe Cassie is joining us. Yeah, one of my colleagues, Cassie, is gonna be
Okay.
on in just a moment. Um, Thanks for having us for these. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah.
It was so much of traveling back home
Oh, there's hope.
coming back from the embassy event that was held in Yorkville. I'm tired back. I was also joined.
I, I didn't quite make that out. Hope, was that to me? Maybe not.
I'm traveling home from an MC event that was held in West Point, a
Oh wow.
Yokohama tire company.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's where Selena is right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, yes. So I won't be speaking much. One more thing, Jim.
Yeah.
Did you did you get? I sent you an email from my school email address about the booklets that I would like to have in English.
Yeah, I got that hope, and I responded. I'm sorry to say, I just responded a little while ago, like 15 minutes ago or something. But yeah, so let's see. While we have a second, so 7 of the 10 of those booklets are part of a series. They're called photo novellas, and they were designed specifically for Spanish language speakers. So when we created those actually they don't come in English. They're really designed for the Spanish speaking community. Um, the other three, I'm not sure about, and I need to look into that more. I think 2 of them are in English, but hopefully they're in stock. But I said this in my note to you. I'll check that out and we'll find out what the status is on those, and I'll send you a note about that. So, oh, here she is. So Cassie's here, and let's see. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Cassie.
Jim, do you mind if I just say a
Yeah,
few things?
please go
Yes.
right ahead.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christy Walker. with the Mississippi Council on Econ Ed, subbing in for Selena because she is probably finishing up the West Point workshop right now. But super excited about this one, having a now 14-year-old that just knew she was going to be a YouTube influencer when she was like 4. She didn't watch many videos, but we have some hilarious videos of her saying, give me a thumbs up, click subscribe. And so just the smallest things can really convince our minds of any kind of marketing, or, I just laugh when I just think of those videos. So just a few little housekeeping things. To get the CEU credits, if you're doing this for the CEUs, you need to have your camera on, and to make sure, I think most of y'all is pretty good, maybe about 1 or 2, make sure you change your Zoom name so it can identify like your name and it just doesn't say something random. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. And I think some of the participants have probably already participated in the past, but I'm sure there are going to be some good questions later on for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for setting this up. Thanks for letting us do these webinars. We've really appreciated it. I guess I'll just go ahead and share screen, and oops, actually, I think I need to send you a request there. Just sent you a request to share. See if I can do it now. There we go. Can you guys see? Let's see, does that work? No? Hold on, sorry. Can you guys see my screen now?
I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, terrific. So thanks everyone for joining. I'm Jim Kreidler, and I'm here today with my co-presenter and colleague, Cassie Rasmussen. There's Cassie right there. We'll be taking turns presenting today. As you all know, we're from the Federal Trade Commission. It's the nation's consumer protection agency. And just like we've done on all of these, for folks that haven't been with us, I'll just do a quick intro of what the FTC does. So as the nation's consumer protection agency, the FTC works to stop fraud, deception, and unfair business practices. Through enforcement, the FTC does investigations, sues companies and people that break the law, and we also try to get money back to people whenever possible. Many of those cases are based on reports that we get from folks who tell us about scams and dishonest practices that they see. Through education and outreach, the FTC tells people about their rights and businesses about their responsibilities. And today, we're virtually, but in print, online, and in person, we also share with people how to spot and avoid scams and how to report them. Finally, the FTC can't do it alone. By working with educators like yourself and librarians, community organizations, we try and amplify our messages and reach a broader audience. So here's a little bit of what we're going to cover today. We think it's useful to talk about online influencers and reviews because young people are tech savvy, but they're not immune to deceptive advertising, or what's often called blurred advertising, where advertising messages are hidden inside other types of content that your students see online. So we'll talk a little bit about truth in advertising and why that matters. We'll share some questions your students can ask themselves to help them evaluate online influencers and reviews and help them spot deceptive and blurred advertising techniques. We'll also have time for discussion, and I hope it's a really lively one. I think you guys probably have a lot of experience in this area, and we'd love to hear what some of your experience with your students are. But before we do that, as we've done in the other ones, I'll just start off with a little warm-up question here. So have you ever watched a video by a YouTuber who mentions a product they're using during a video or on another topic? And did it make you want to buy the product? Why or why not? If you care, please share any answers you have in the chat, or you could also just call them out too if you've had experience like watching YouTube videos. Either, some people do reviews. Yep. Okay, here comes a few. Yeah, because they show it's working. Yeah, that's it. Just like they explained. Yes, yes. Okay, got some good responses here. Yeah, it's pretty common. I mean, we asked this question today because we're discussing how companies pay or give influencers free stuff to say nice things about their products. And sometimes they do that with people that have never even actually used their products. So so by thinking about these things, hopefully we're going to help you help your students spot these blurred advertising techniques. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Cassie. Oh, I think you're muted there, Cassie.
Sorry about that.
Okay, there you go.
I'll be a little more tech savvy going forward, I hope. Thanks, Jim. Hi, everybody. I'm Cassie Rasmussen. I'm an attorney with the Division of Advertising Practices at the FTC. I also come from a very long line of teachers, so I'm really excited to be getting to talk to you wonderful people. I'm excited to be here to share some ideas about how to help your students learn how to evaluate online influencers and reviews. So with that, here's question number 2. Do you check out online reviews when you're deciding whether or not you're going to buy something? And if so, what are some things that you consider, and how do you decide to trust or not trust an online review?
Well, I know for me personally, I tend to overanalyze on Amazon just a little bit too much. But I don't click on the good reviews. I always click on the 1 or 2 star reviews. But yeah, sometimes I just have to get to the point that I just buy it. Like I'm spending more time reading the comments.
Yeah, I think it's really useful to read a lot of comments and also check out reviewers and see like what their story is. Like, do they seem like legitimate people? Do they seem like people that have given reviews on other products? And I mean, there's a lot of bots out there that are just making fake reviews, so one has to always check. So yeah, a lot of other things here. Yeah, personal reviews. Yeah, go ahead, Kath.
Oh, I was to say, yeah, so it seems like some other people also look at the negative reviews. I know I do that also. People like to see the distribution of reviews. If it's not a paid review, and then yes to personal reviews and those with photos. So a lot of good responses here. So reviews are an important part of the process that people go through to evaluate if they want to buy a product, if they want to buy a service. But as we've sort of touched upon, a lot of online reviews are fake. So we'll talk about fake reviews in a few minutes. But first, wanted to touch on our next topic, which is why disclosing sponsorship matters. So let's talk a little bit about sponsorship. And so this is when a company has paid somebody to endorse, advertise their product for them, or has given them free merchandise, has done something to incentivize them. So let's talk first about an example that illustrates why it's important to disclose sponsorships and why this might make a difference. So let's say one of your students' friends recommends a new flavor of soda to them. What if your student found out later that that friend was paid $100 to recommend that soda? Would that change how your student thought about the friend's recommendation? It might be a little bit biased, right? So because your student's friend had an incentive to recommend the soda. So that same idea is at play here with our rules regarding disclosing sponsorships of endorsements. It's, that same dynamic exists in the marketplace, and trust is an important part of the relationship that exists between consumers and businesses. People have the right to make informed decisions about the products and the services that they buy. And so undisclosed sponsorships with endorsements can mislead people by presenting paid promotions as though they are genuine recommendations when they're actually financially motivated. Let's look at an example of how this exists on the internet. So what if a celebrity influencer, for example, told you about a miracle weight loss tea, but didn't adequately disclose that the tea company had paid them to make that endorsement? So for those of you who may not recognize her from that photo, that on the left is Cardi B. And then we have another influencer as well with her. So this is from a case in which FTC sent her and several other influencers warning letters for failing to adequately disclose that their endorsements were paid, that they did for these detox teas. So the FTC said that these influencers did not clearly and conspicuously disclose their paid relationship with Teami, the tea company, in their social media posts, which went against FTC requirements. We'll talk in a minute about what it means to adequately disclose clearly and conspicuously. By the way, in this case, the FTC also said that Teami made some unsubstantiated health claims about its products, which the influencers promoted. But this is just the example of one of the kinds of things that your students might see online. So let's talk a little bit about what the law says. The FTC enforces what are called truth in advertising laws. These are federal laws that say that when people see or hear an advertisement, whether it's online, on the radio, on television, in the mail, magazines, billboards, buses, anywhere else, the ad must be truthful and not misleading. These federal laws say that when people see or hear an advertisement, basically all of that has to be truthful, not misleading. And this covers not just traditional ads, but also claims made by social media influencers and also online reviews. So this is a huge challenge because the internet is a big place. The FTC doesn't see everything that's out there. So it's very important that your students know how to spot ads and other content that might be deceptive or misleading on their own. So let's talk a bit about how to help your students be savvy and spot these ads. What can they do? They can ask questions. Let's take one more example. I'm sure you and your students have seen unboxing videos. Companies often pay influencers or give them free stuff so they will unbox and describe and use the company's products on camera. Influencers are supposed to clearly and conspicuously disclose if they have been sponsored. If an influencer makes an endorsement out loud, for example, they need to also disclose that sponsorship out loud. If an influencer makes an endorsement in writing, the influencer should also make the disclosure in writing. Basically, the disclosure needs to be in the same medium as the endorsement. So the first question that your student should ask when they're watching content like this is, who is responsible for making this message? For example, is it a company trying to sell a product? Is the influencer being paid by the company to say good things in the video? Is the influencer mentioning or showing their relationship with the company on the screen? And if not, why not? Influencers are supposed to say if they endorse a product, as I said before, out loud. If they, make the endorsement out loud, they have to make the disclosure out loud. All right. So then the second question the students should ask themselves is, what is the message and what's missing from it? Is the message trying to convince me of something? Is it only telling me the parts that make the product look good and not telling me about the downsides? Should I do more research before I make a decision about whether or not to buy that product? And the last question the students should ask themselves is, what does this message want me to do? Is it trying to get me to buy or sign up for something? Even if it's subtle, if an influencer is promoting a product without any disclosure, that could be a sign that their opinion about a product is not their own, but a company's. Okay. So let's switch gears just a little bit and talk a bit about online reviews now. So online reviews are public evaluations or feedback by customers about products, services, or businesses. You'll usually see them bunched together on a website or platform. Many people use reviews to see the honest opinions of other buyers, and we talked about that today. A lot of us use them. But how do you know if a review is really honest or if it's from a real buyer? So the FTC's rule on fake reviews and testimonials prohibits companies from generating fake reviews or paying people to say something particular in a review. For example, a business can't offer somebody a gift card in exchange for a 5-star review. They can offer a gift card in exchange for writing a review, period, but they can't say, if you write 5 stars or if you say this particularly good thing, we will give you a gift card, because that's effectively paying them to say a particular opinion, so it's not going to be honest. the FTC is focused on ensuring that consumers are not misled by deceptive endorsements and testimonials. And so this rule prohibits businesses from writing, creating, or selling consumer reviews and testimonials that materially misrepresent whether a reviewer exists at all, whether they have experience with the product or service, or what that experience with it actually was. And businesses that violate these rules can face significant fines from the FTC. But as we mentioned, the internet is a big place. We can't see everything. So how can you help your students evaluate the reviews that they're reading? So here are some questions that they can think about. Consider what they know about the reviewer and the site and what would make that site trustworthy. Ask your students to check a variety of well-known sources and compare them. Suggest that they start with websites that are recognized for having credible and impartial reviews. So this includes places like Consumer Reports, Wirecutter, the Better Business Bureau. Also, ask your students to check out the reviewer themselves. Did that reviewer just appear suddenly and post a lot of reviews, or have they been around for a while as a trustworthy source? Also, remind your students that anyone can write glowing reviews. People put fake reviews on Google, and some companies pay bots to generate fake reviews. So some things that you can look out for if trying to spot bot reviews. If there are hundreds of reviews for a product or service and they all appear suddenly at once, maybe there weren't any reviews before a certain date and suddenly there are hundreds, that may indicate that those reviews are fake, potentially made by bots. If it's something that really humans couldn't generate reviews that quickly, or there aren't likely to be that many clients for a company in that short period of time. So just things to be on the lookout for. And with that, I'll pass it back to Jim.
Thanks so much, Cassie. So hopefully some of these questions have generated, kind of generated some thoughts and some questions for you. And as we've done in the other webinars, now's a great time for us to kind of open it up and have a little bit of a discussion about any issues around these topics that you've come across with students. So maybe as a way of kicking it off, here's this first question. Have your students ever raised any of these issues about online influencers or fake reviews with you in class? And if so, would you care to share that or any other experience really on these two topics of kind of fake reviews and the world of influencers? We could, just talk verbally, or you can put it up in the chat, whatever you'd like. Cassie, I should point out, is a total expert in this. She's brought a number of cases in this realm. And so, yeah, so she knows a lot more than I do on this topic. So, anybody have any experiences with students where they've mentioned things about, influencers kind of promoting products? Or I guess maybe another question would be, if your students found out an influencer was getting paid to promote a product, do you think it would change their opinion of the influencer or the product? So I have 3 kids, all in their, early 20s or late teens. And often I feel like they don't, it might not matter to them. Even if they found out that an influencer got paid for something, they just like the influencer so much that they're inclined to like the thing the influencer likes. And I wonder if that's a shared experience that any of you have with your students as well. But I think it is a reality, because bias does come into play here, and understanding one's motivation. I guess another thought that, especially in raising teenagers, is teenagers really don't like being fooled or marketed to or unduly influenced. They really want to know who's behind stuff. And sometimes I wonder if that might be a fruitful area of discussion. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, makeup is a big thing here. I'll just read some of these here. Yeah, okay, makeup is a big thing. Girls who follow certain influencers will bolt out the door to buy that product. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Um, they're so captured by the influencer and they want to be just like them and have what they have. Yeah, I think those are all very true statements, Angela. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
wonder if maturity, like,
Mhm,
I have a 18 and a 14-year-old,
mhm,
and they're definitely, they can see, well, the 14-year-old doesn't have social media yet, but how the smallest thing that my 18-year-old will discuss with me because she saw it on Instagram or something.
mhm.
But then I catch myself as, um, the only person I really follow on Instagram is this makeup. So I was interested, somebody mentioned makeup, this lady on like women over 40, how to do your makeup, and how things
Yeah.
change. And I finally realized the other day, like she has the best product. And I'm like, ooh, and I go to Amazon and I look it up, but then it's every day there's another favorite product that she has. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
like, I thought you just said this concealer is your favorite product, but now
Oh,
I have
yeah.
the next best. And so I don't know if age, like I'm able to catch that because I'm
Uh,
like, now I don't know really what's good and what's not anymore because of this versus my 18-year-old that just sees it and it's like, this is the best thing ever.
sure, sure, yeah. And also, I wonder if for that influencer, if they're disclosing at all, like, do they have a relationship with that product manufacturer? And like, have they ever mentioned that in the videos, or do they have? I think a lot of influencers will try and get away with it by just saying hashtag sponsored, and
Yeah.
it might be buried in like a whole litany of other hashtags at the bottom of a post. I think we've seen a lot of issues like that. Um, yeah, it's just it's fraught. This whole area. Yeah, they trust the influencer's credibility. I think that's really true. Yeah, okay, let's see. I'm on TikTok and I see that a lot of products will be promoted, and I usually catch myself looking in the reviews more. Yeah, so the 4 stars and down because I don't trust the 5 stars. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, a healthy dose of skepticism about so many reviews that are online, and then doing as much research. I guess a big question as teachers is how do you help your kids, how do you help your students have that skeptical mindset where they're really asking questions about what they see and not just taking it all. Is there a way to develop that critical thinking skill where they're kind of independently doing their research and approaching and finding out what the real story is on things? Well, this is all really helpful. Let's see. Yeah, it seems like the more self-depreciating an influencer is, the more people trust them. Yeah, yeah, I think that's true too. Yeah, a lot of yeah, uh, I mean, it's certainly a great tactic to break down barriers because it makes you more likable, and I think a lot of influencers employ that. So, okay, so this is
And
great. It's really good to hear your thoughts. Yeah, go ahead, Cassie.
I'd say, and some that makes me think too of sometimes influencers I know that I have seen personally, who might say like, "Oh, they don't want me to tell you. They don't want you to know about this." We sent out warning letters to some dietitian influencers who were saying, "Oh, they don't WHO, they're saying that aspartame may cause cancer, and they don't want you to know." They're just trying to control you and control your life. Meanwhile, they're being paid by Coca-Cola to promote drinks with aspartame, but they didn't disclose that. So they're sort of sometimes will play as if they're telling you the truth, but they're actually hiding the truth from you.
That's a great point. Are there any other kind of case like examples like that you can share? Um, any other that kind of come to mind or?
Yeah. So, I mean, sort of on the topic of dietitians, because we did have a sweep a little over a year ago where we sent out letters to multiple dietitians, to sugar company people who were dietitians promoting eating sugar, who were paid by sugar companies, promoting drinking aspartame, who were paid by Coca-Cola, Pepsi, etc. Um, Sometimes things will be presented as if they are like health recommendations. For example, there was one dietitian who presented herself as giving you the real facts about what it's like to live with diabetes. And she had a health blog that was actually geared towards children many years ago, in which she said, you know, I have diabetes. And so I would drink a sugary soda after a game, and people would, you know, tell me this was unhealthy, but it was the healthiest thing I could do for myself. But what she did was conflate type 1 and type 2 diabetes and sort of act as if they had the same need. But she was sort of poo-pooing what experts would say. And nowhere did she disclose that she was being literally paid by Coca-Cola to say these things. But what I thought was particularly insidious about that was that it was on a website that was made for kids to learn how to eat healthfully.
And so did the letter get her to stop that activity, or did we have to sue her?
Yes, so sent out warning letters to her and to the American Beverage Association, who was sponsoring her. The posts that we discussed were all taken down, and the American Beverage Association stopped that particular campaign, but in which they had involved many dietitian influencers. So in that situation, all the posts were taken down, and so we didn't pursue any further action with them. Alternatively, they could have also changed some of the hashtags. And in this particular situation, one of the issues also was that they had recorded all kinds of endorsements in the video verbally. And even though they were willing to add hashtags and visual disclosures, they didn't want to re-record the video with a verbal disclosure. So they just took the post down. But in the future going forward, they included that.
Cool. That's great. Thanks for sharing. Oh, good. Okay, we've had many discussions about why others promote a product. Yeah, that's great. I think, and hopefully this webinar gives you some other examples that maybe you can use in the classroom about, you know, really there's the financial interest about why folks promote a product. And I think that could be very useful for kids to know about. So, okay, so maybe that we'll just call that a wrap up for this little bit of the discussion, and I'll just carry on here. For those of you that have been here before, this is going to be old news, but I'm just going to promote this one more time. UVille, it's our educational program for 8 to 12-year-olds, but it does have a module on understanding advertising, and we do talk about influencers in it, because I think in this environment where kids are spending tons of time online, it's a really useful thing to start them even at a very early age about, you know, trying to understand, you know, how advertising is targeting them. Here's some of the things that UVille has: lesson plans, activity sheets, a key that kind of takes you through. You don't feel like you have to be an expert in handling these topics. The lesson plans are very self-explanatory, and you can read them and basically go step by step. They start off with like a mini lesson warm up. Then there's a learning activity that takes 10 to 15 minutes. Then there normally kind of group activities or individual activities, a wrap up, and then some conclusions that are brought. So it's very useful to check out. It's at ftc.gov/UVille. We also have this poster and the promotional bookmark that I've mentioned in the past. Next, consumer.gov is a great resource. I think some of you have already used it, but I'll just point out a few things in it. We cover, you know, your money, credit, debt, college and careers, cars, school, cars, and scams and identity theft. Really here, the focus is on action steps that anyone can take in a given situation that they're facing. Let's see, here are some of our free resources. I'll just mention here, Heads Up is an excellent publication. It's really written for students, and a lot of it is about kind of how to behave online, how to use good digital citizenship skills, and all of these things are available at ftc.gov/bulk order. The best way to stay in touch with us is to sign up for our consumer alerts. That's ftc.gov/consumer alerts, also available in Spanish. And with that, we have some time for a few questions, if anybody has any on this topic, or really anything kind of related that maybe we haven't covered. We're happy to take any questions that you've got. And we also, if you think of some questions later, you're totally free to email us as well.
Cassie, I have one. What is like, how do y'all find, like, do people like blab on the influencers, or are there certain indicators? Like, that's my first question. The second one is, what is the process? It sounds like you send a letter to stop, and then if they choose not to, possibly sue or go to court.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so so the first question, we get our cases a variety of ways. There are places you can for people to report when they see, yeah, and Jim just put the put the link in reportfraud.ftc.gov. So that will send your complaints to a database that we monitor and sort of look at things. And especially if we have a lot of people talking about the same person, we'll, be particularly attuned to taking a closer look. So that's one way. Sometimes we find things ourselves. Sometimes there are articles, right? Maybe a journalist has done an investigation into something. So we just sort of try and keep a lookout as best we can. But yeah, hearing from influencers directly is a pretty effective way to find out, what's going on. In terms of the process, so every investigation is a little bit different, but often we will initially reach out. We might ask for additional information from a company or an individual. We might send something called a civil investigative demand. It's literally a letter that says, please produce these documents to us. We might set up a phone call with them to talk to them. If things persist, we might send a warning letter. And if things escalate, we can go to court, we can sue, take them to federal court, etc. But usually, we're able to work with people, and usually they take things seriously, and we're able to sort of resolve things before we get to that point. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Do you treat like minors versus 18 and older, like the law? Like, if there's an influencer that, and I don't know, let's say 16, but they're not following federal law, maybe because they have no clue, like, the accountability there, is it just contacting the parents at that point, or like, I'm just curious about
That's a really good question. I haven't personally ever been on a case where the target was a minor. I think it'll probably be very situational, but like, we try to be reasonable, right? Like, we're not just out there to just punish people. Like, we want to stop fraud from happening. And often talking, people who just don't know the rules or know the law, that's a very different situation from somebody who is very intentionally trying to skirt the law and get things out of people and scam them. So, and you can, we're on the lookout for that. We try to be reasonable.
makes sense.
Any other questions? Any other questions in the chat? Scanning. Oh, here. Okay. Okay, I think of Ryan's World Online. Okay. I read that all the toys. Right. Yeah. He's to talk about were paid. Okay. Now they must disclose, that the toys were given to him for free. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about Ryan's World. Yeah, and I've seen a few videos, but I didn't really know the story. Is that the case? Like, was he given stuff for free, or was he also doing paid promotion? I don't know. Okay, you think both? Cassie, do you know about this guy, Ryan's World? It's like
Yeah,
is he
I don't
like
think I
8
know
years
enough of
old?
the details to speak to it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a young kid who was like really, I guess, promoting a lot of toys, and I I don't know his story really. Oh, we do a survey today. Yep.
Yes.
Great. Let me go get that 1 second. Thanks for reminding me. I would have forgotten it. Okay, sorry. Okay. if you all wouldn't mind clicking on the survey and answering 5 questions for us, we'd really appreciate it. It would help us with our outreach efforts and to make sure these are as effective as they can be. Thank you very much. Are the surveys working for people? Okay, great. Seeing some head nods.
So do the resources online have a like a handout that just is short and sweet that deals with the how to, you know, like if you're paid, this is what you're supposed to do in order to abide by federal law?
Yeah, so we have a guide for influencers that is, if you just Google it or go to our site and then search for it, you'll find it. And it's very straightforward. So I guess I would point you there first, and then I think that is downloadable and printable as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's kind of like an online influencers 101, I think is one of them, and maybe there's a few. Oh, here, Cassie just put it in. Disclosures 101 for social media influencers.
And there's also an email address that you can email with specific questions about endorsements. I think it's endorsements@ftc.gov. And somebody on staff here will answer questions. And we get questions all the time from people even saying, hey, I'm in a writers group and we all go online and give one another positive reviews for our books. Like, what do we have to say about that? You know, things like that. And the Disclosures 101 is a good guideline to start with. But in terms of where these rules actually come from, so the rules regarding the fake reviews are an actual set of like specific rules that came out called the rules on fake reviews and testimonials. And then in addition to that, we have something called endorsement guidelines that are suggestions for how to disclose sponsorships in a way that is not deceptive or misleading. So those are 2 sort of primary sources for those rules. But we're always happy to answer questions about that.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Thanks for doing
you.
the little survey at the end there. We really appreciate it. And I think we're taking next week off because of 4th of July, but we'll see you in 2 weeks for the final one on UVille. And in that, I'll go through a little bit more about, you know, how to actually use UVille materials and some of the ways that you might be able to, especially for those of you that teach younger kids or special needs kids, I think. So thanks again. We really look forward to it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you all.
Okay, thanks
Have a
very
good day.
much. Okay.
Miss,
Yeah,
from the MCEE team.
yes.
On
Walker,
last, what'd you say, Miss Chrissy?
yeah, Christy Walker. Yeah.
Ms. Walker, last week, I did not do my survey because I had an emergency and I had to get off. What do I need to do to make that one day up?
Send, that may be send them an email, but there may be another webinar that you could just sign up for that could replace that one that if you go to the council's website, there is a link under resource, like it says webinars, and there are some different groups and some different webinars. So you could send an email, but it also walks you through how many webinars you would have to participate in to get your CEU credit. So there's a possibility that I mean, I would discuss it with Selena first, but possibly attending one of those other ones and providing documentation.
Okay.
That
And
could,
she will be back in 2 weeks.
yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Susan, I just sent you the link. The process, it just walks you through attending the live webinar, so not anything pre-recorded. And that may be another Selena question that she could answer, but there are some different live webinars in that website that they approve. The 4 groups right underneath there. And I believe you have to do 5 in order to get your half credit.
Okay, I'm not doing the CEUs. I just wanted to know,
Oh, okay.
look at the webinar that was recorded last week.
Yeah, so if it's not on that website yet, they will get it up
Okay.
there. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.